The aliens scoffed at the warning. Now humans chase them without mercy. Part 1. The warning ignored. The Galactic Council Chamber was the largest room Admiral Park had ever seen. It stretched upward like the inside of a mountain, with seats carved into the walls for hundreds of alien species. Lights floated in the air without any wires. The floor was made of something that looked like black glass but felt warm under his boots. Park stood alone in the center of the room. He was not a tall man. His hair was gray at the sides, and his uniform was simple compared to the bright colors worn by the alien leaders around him. Behind him stood Commander, his second-in-command. She had sharp eyes that never stopped moving, watching every alien in the room. They sat on a raised platform across from them. He was twice the height of a human with a body like a giant insect. His shell was dark purple, almost black. 6 arms folded across his chest. His eyes, dozens of them, reflected the light like wet stones. "The Dominion claims the 3 outer systems," he announced. His voice was a series of clicks and hisses that the translator turned into flat, emotionless words. "The worlds you call new, and these territories belong to us by right of expansion." Park did not move. 2.3 million humans live on New alone. These are established colonies, recognized by this council for over 80 years. "Your people spread like disease," they replied. "You breed too fast, you take too much. The Dominion will correct this imbalance." A murmur passed through the chamber. Some aliens looked uncomfortable, others seemed amused. They had conquered 40 worlds in the last century. They were known for their cruelty and their strength. No one had successfully opposed them. "I will speak plainly," Park said. His voice was calm, like a man discussing the weather. "The United Earth government has authorized me to deliver a formal warning to the Dominion." They leaned forward. His mandibles clicked together in what might have been a smile. "A warning from humans." "We do not start wars," Park continued. "This has been our policy for 300 years. We have never attacked another species first. We have signed every peace treaty offered to us. We have traded fairly and kept our word." "Soft," they said, "weak." But Park raised one finger. "When we are attacked, we do not stop until the war is over, completely over. The Empire attacked Earth 400 years ago. They killed 30,000 humans in a raid. They do not exist anymore. The collective bombed our colony on Mars 2 centuries ago. Their species is extinct. They invaded our space 150 years ago. You will not find them on any star map." The chamber grew quiet. Some of the older species shifted in their seats. They remembered those names. They remembered what had happened. "Leave our people alone," Park said, "or you will learn why every species that has attacked Earth has ceased to exist. This is not a threat. This is a fact of history. This is our only warning." For a moment the room was silent. Then they began to laugh. It was a horrible sound. His mandibles clacked together rapidly, and a high whistling came from somewhere deep in his throat. Others in the chamber joined him. The sound echoed off the walls like stones falling into a well. "Humans," they said when he finally stopped, "you live such short lives, 60, 70, 80 years. You are fragile, you break easily, you feel pain and fear and love." He said the last word like it was something disgusting. "These weaknesses make you prey, not predators." "Our short lives," Commander spoke for the first time, "make us impatient. We do not have time to wait for enemies to grow old." They ignored her. To him she was not worth addressing. He rose from his seat, his full height nearly 3 meters tall. "The Dominion will take what we want. Your worlds, your resources, your people if we find them useful. If you resist, we will teach you the price of resistance." He turned to address the full council. "Let this be recorded. The humans were warned. They were given the chance to surrender peacefully. They chose to threaten the Dominion." His many eyes gleamed. "Their destruction is their own doing." Park remained still as they walked past him, close enough that the alien's shadow fell across his face. The other followed. their hard legs clicking on the glass floor. When they were gone, the council chamber erupted in whispered conversations. Many species looked at the humans with something like pity. They had never lost a war. Their fleet was the largest in the sector. Their soldiers were bred for combat, could survive in vacuum, could regenerate lost limbs. Humans, by comparison, needed air to breathe. They died from wounds that other species would shrug off. They needed sleep every day. They got tired, got sick, got sad. An ambassador from the consortium approached Park. There were small, gray-skinned beings known for their careful neutrality. "Admiral," she said quietly, "I am sorry. If there is anything we can do to help negotiate a peaceful settlement." "There will be no negotiation," Park replied. "We delivered our warning." They chose to laugh. Commander walked beside him as they left the chamber. The corridors of the station were wide enough for species much larger than humans, and their footsteps echoed in the empty space. "They have no idea what they just did," said. "No," Park agreed. "They see our kindness as weakness. They see our restraint as fear. They think because we choose not to fight, we cannot fight." "How long until their fleet reaches New?" 14 days. Park stopped walking. He placed his hand against the wall and closed his eyes. For a moment he looked very tired. 14 days and then everything changes. "Should we send additional ships to defend the colony?" "We cannot get enough there in time, not enough to stop them." He opened his eyes. They were hard now, like stones. "But we can get enough there to document what happens. We can make sure every human in the galaxy sees what they do to our people." "Understood. You want them to see." "When Earth wakes up," Park said, "when humanity truly wakes up, they will need a reason. They will need to remember why we fight. They will need something to fuel them when the war grows long and hard." He started walking again. "They will give us that reason. They will write their own death sentence in the blood of our people." Behind them, through the great windows of the station, the fleet was already moving. 200 warships, each one larger than anything humans had ever built. They moved toward the jump point that would take them to New. 14 days. The countdown had begun. The aliens scoffed at the warning. Now humans chased them without mercy. Part 2: The Fall of New. New was a beautiful world. It had wide plains covered in golden grass that moved like ocean waves when the wind blew. The sky was a soft blue, lighter than Earth's sky, with 2 small moons that could be seen even during the day. Rivers cut through the land like silver ribbons, and the cities that humans had built along their banks were clean and bright. Governor stood on the balcony of the Capitol building and watched the sunrise. She was young for a governor, only 34 years old. Her parents had been among the first settlers on this world, and she had been born here. To her, New was not a colony. It was home. Her assistant ran onto the balcony. His face was pale, and his hands were shaking. "Governor, the orbital sensors have detected a fleet emerging from jump space." "How many ships?" 200, ma'am. Configuration." Closed her eyes for just a moment. She had known this was coming. Admiral Park had sent a message 3 days ago telling her to prepare, but knowing and seeing were different things. "Begin evacuation protocols," she said. "Get as many people to the transport ships as possible, women and children first." "Ma'am, we only have enough transports for maybe 300,000 people. There are over 2 million on the planet." "Then we save 300,000. Her voice did not shake. "Start now." Captain No commanded the defense garrison of New. He had 12 frigates under his control, 12 small ships against 200 warships. The math was simple and cruel. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, and watched the enemy fleet approach on the display screen. His officers were quiet. They all knew what was about to happen. "All ships," said into the communication system, "form defensive line between the enemy fleet and the planet. Our job is to buy time. Every minute we give them is another transport that escapes. Every second matters." "Captain," his weapons officer said, "at current enemy speed, we have approximately 40 minutes until engagement range. Then we have 40 minutes to make peace with ourselves." Sat down in his command chair. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them what is happening here. Tell them we held the line." The battle lasted 11 minutes. The ships did not even slow down as they tore through the human defensive line. Their weapons were designed to crack open asteroids for mining. Against small frigates, they were absolutely devastating. The was hit by 7 beams at once and simply ceased to exist. One moment Captain No was alive, the next he was scattered atoms drifting in the void. Not a single ship was destroyed. 3 were damaged, that was all. On the surface, Governor watched the sky light up with explosions. Each flash was a ship dying. Each flash was hundreds of her people burning. "Ma'am, we have to go," her security chief said. "The transports are leaving." "How many have we loaded?" "About 340,000. It is all we can do." Looked at the city around her. The streets were chaos. People were running, screaming, trying to reach the spaceport. Mothers carried children. Old people struggled to keep up. There was not enough room for everyone, and people were beginning to understand this. "I am staying," said. "Governor, please. Someone has to document what happens here. Someone has to bear witness." She pulled out a small recording device. "The galaxy needs to see what the really are. Go, get on a transport. Make sure this recording reaches Earth." In a small apartment near the spaceport, a family was saying goodbye. The father, Minu, lifted his daughter into a cargo container. She was only 8 years old, with big eyes and hair tied in 2 small braids. "You have to be very quiet," her mother said. Her face was wet with tears, but her voice was steady. "Do not make any sound no matter what you hear. Do you understand?" "I want to stay with you," whispered. "You cannot, my love." Her father kissed her forehead. "We bought 1 spot on a transport, just 1. It has to be you." "I do not want to go alone." "You will not be alone," her mother said. "We will be with you, always in here." She touched his chest over her heart. "Now be brave for us." They closed the container. Through a small hole, could see her parents standing together, holding hands. Then someone carried the container away, and she saw them no more. They landed their troops 2 hours after the battle in orbit ended. They did not come to conquer. They came to kill. Governor broadcast everything she saw. She walked through the streets with her recording device, showing the galaxy what they did to civilians. She showed the bodies in the streets. She showed the buildings burning. She showed the soldiers hunting down humans like animals. "They are not taking prisoners," she said into the device. Her voice was calm, almost distant. She was in shock, but she kept recording. "They are executing everyone they find. Old, young, it does not matter. They are calling us vermin. They say they are cleaning the planet." She recorded until a soldier found her. Her last image was of a dark shape raising a weapon, then static. The transport ships fled toward the jump point. Behind them, they let most of them go. They wanted survivors. They wanted witnesses. They wanted the other humans to know what had happened. Little, hidden in her cargo container, was loaded onto one of those transports. When the ship jumped to safety and the container was opened, she climbed out and walked to a window. She could still see New. It looked small from space, a blue and brown ball hanging in the darkness. As she watched, she saw flashes of light on the surface. They were burning the cities. They were burning her home. They were burning the place where her parents had stayed behind. She did not cry. She was too young to fully understand and too old to pretend it was not real. She simply watched, and something inside her turned hard and cold. A crew member found her at the window. "Little one, you should not watch this." "I have to," said. "My mother told me to be brave." The news reached Earth 16 hours later. Governor's recording played on every screen on the planet. 1.96 million humans dead. An entire world destroyed. Families erased. Children killed. The images were too horrible to describe, but people watched anyway. They needed to see. They needed to understand. In every city on Earth, people gathered in the streets. They did not riot. They did not scream. They simply stood together in silence, watching the screens, seeing what had been done to their brothers and sisters among the stars. The silence was worse than screaming would have been. It was the silence of something waking up, something old and terrible that humanity had buried deep inside itself long ago. They sent a message to Earth. Your colony world has been purified. Surrender the remaining two worlds or suffer the same fate. Earth did not respond. Not yet. But in underground bunkers and hidden shipyards, lights were turning on that had been dark for 200 years. Machines were starting that had never been used. Plans were being opened that had been sealed and forgotten. Humanity was not grieving. Humanity was getting ready. The aliens scoffed at the warning. Now humans chase them without mercy. Part 3. Humanity Awakens. Deep beneath the Himalayan mountains, there was a room that did not officially exist. It was carved from solid rock, 3 kilometers underground, with walls thick enough to survive a nuclear blast. The room had not been opened in 170 years. Fleet Marshal Shin walked through the ancient corridors with a team of engineers behind her. Emergency lights flickered on as they passed, sensors detecting human presence for the first time in nearly 2 centuries. Shin was 61 years old. She had commanded fleets for 30 years. She had never lost a battle, but she had also never fought a real war. Humans had been at peace for so long that most people had forgotten what war looked like. The massacre at Nu had reminded them. The great doors at the end of the corridor opened with a groan of metal that had not moved in generations. Beyond them lay the command nexus, the secret heart of Earth's true military power. Screens covered every wall showing data that had been frozen in time when the room was sealed. Ship designs, weapon specifications, fleet positions, everything humanity had built during its darkest days, when survival was not guaranteed and enemies came from every direction. Shin stood at the central console and placed her hand on a scanner. The system recognized her authority codes, codes that were passed down from one fleet marshal to the next, never written down, never spoken aloud. Prometheus Protocol, she said. Authorization Shin, Fleet Marshal, United Earth Command. The room came alive. Every screen updated, connecting to current systems. Numbers appeared showing the current state of humanity's hidden arsenal. Dr. I.M., the chief weapons researcher, stood beside her. He was a thin man with glasses and hands that never stopped moving. He had spent his entire career studying weapons that were never supposed to be used. "It is all still here," he said, his voice filled with something between wonder and horror. "Everything from the old wars, the weapons we built when we thought we might not survive." "Show me," Shin said. The main screen displayed a list that made the engineers behind them go pale. Singularity torpedoes, weapons that created tiny black holes that lasted just long enough to tear ships apart from the inside. The old records showed they had been used exactly once, against the home fleet. 400 warships had been crushed into spheres the size of grapes in less than 3 seconds. Quantum dissolution beams, weapons that broke apart the bonds between atoms themselves. Ships hit by these beams did not explode. They simply stopped existing, their matter scattering into loose particles. Phase shift drives, engines that could move a ship outside of normal space for a few seconds, letting it pass through solid matter like a ghost. Perfect for ambushes, perfect for appearing inside enemy formations without warning. And the devices, planet killers, weapons so terrible that even showing them had been forbidden. The records did not describe what they did. They only noted that 3 had been built and none had ever been used. "We told the galaxy we were peaceful," Dr. IM said quietly. "We told them we had given up war." We did give up war, Shin replied. We did not give up the ability to wage it. There is a difference. She turned to face her officers. The Luna shipyards will be activated to full capacity. All reserve fleets will be brought online. Every ship that was decommissioned will be restored. We have 60 days to assemble a force large enough to end the Dominion. That is impossible, one officer said. We do not have the personnel, the resources. We have everything we need. Shin cut him off. This bunker is connected to automated factories on 6 continents and 3 moons. Those factories have been waiting for activation codes for 200 years. They have materials stockpiled. They have robots ready to work. They were built for exactly this situation. She pressed a sequence of buttons on the console. Far away, across the solar system, machines that had been sleeping began to wake. Assembly lines started moving. Furnaces began to heat. Ships that existed only as frames and skeletons began to receive armor and weapons. In 60 days, Shin said, we will have 3,000 warships. Each one will be equipped with weapons the galaxy has never seen. Each one will be crewed by humans who have watched the recording from Nu. Each one will be ready to do whatever is necessary. On the Luna shipyards, activity exploded overnight. Ships that had been floating in storage for decades were dragged into repair bays. Workers arrived by the thousands, volunteering before they were asked. Everybody wanted to help. Everybody had seen the footage. Among the volunteers was a young woman named. She was 19 now, 11 years older than the little girl who had watched her world burn from a cargo container. She had grown tall and strong, with eyes that rarely smiled and hands that were always ready for work. She had joined the military the day she turned 18. Her psychological evaluation had noted survivor guilt, but also extraordinary focus and determination. The doctors had recommended she be given meaningful work to channel her pain. She was assigned to a destroyer being prepared for the Vanguard fleet. She learned every system on the ship. She trained until she could operate any station blindfolded. When officers noticed her dedication, they promoted her. When they noticed her tactical instincts, they promoted her again. Now she stood on the bridge of a warship as a lieutenant, watching the final ships of the Vanguard fleet form up outside the viewport. 300 ships, the fastest and deadliest in the new fleet. They would be the first to enter space. Fleet Marshal Shin's face appeared on every screen in the fleet. She looked old and tired, but her voice was iron. 11 years ago, I stood before the council of this government and swore an oath. I swore to protect humanity from all threats. I swore to maintain peace wherever possible. She paused. Peace is no longer possible. The crews listened in silence. They called us soft. He called us weak. He said our kindness was a sign of prey, not predators. Her eyes narrowed. He was wrong. Our kindness was a choice. Our restraint was a decision. We could have conquered the galaxy centuries ago. We had the weapons. We had the will. We chose not to because we believed the universe was better when different species lived together in peace. Her voice dropped lower. They have shown us that some species do not want peace. They want to kill. They want to dominate. They want to destroy. Very well. We will teach them what happens when you force humans to fight. The orders appeared on every command screen. Lieutenant read them with a strange feeling in her chest. It was not happiness. It was not peace. It was something darker, something that had been waiting inside her for 11 years. The orders were simple. We do not accept surrender. We do not negotiate. We do not stop. Find them, all of them. The Vanguard fleet jumped into hyperspace. Behind them, the main fleet continued to grow. Every day brought new ships, new weapons, new volunteers. On the Galactic Council station, alien ambassadors watched the human buildup with growing concern. Some tried to contact Earth, offering to mediate. Their messages were ignored. The ambassador sent a personal message to Admiral Park, asking if humanity would consider negotiations. His response was one sentence. We gave them a warning, they laughed. The galaxy had never seen humans go to war. Not real war. Not total war. They had seen human ships patrol their borders. They had seen human diplomats smile and sign treaties. They had seen human merchants haggle over prices and human tourists take pictures of alien monuments. They had never seen what humans could do when they stopped holding back. They were about to learn. The aliens scoffed at the warning. Now humans chase them without mercy. Part 4. The Hunters Become the Hunted. The border world of was a military installation. 50,000 soldiers lived there, along with their families. It had defense platforms, shield generators, and a small fleet of patrol ships. It had never been attacked. No one would be stupid enough to attack the commander of the garrison woke to alarms screaming through every corridor. He ran to the command center, his 6 legs carrying him faster than any human could move. "Report," he demanded. "Unknown contacts emerging from jump space," his sensor officer said. 17, no, 23 ships, configuration unknown. Unknown. That was not possible. The new every ship design in the sector. The main screen showed the approaching fleet. They were human ships, but not like any human ships had seen before. They were angular and dark, with no wasted space, no decoration. They looked like weapons that happened to have engines attached. "Hail them," ordered. "Demand they identify themselves and explain their presence in Dominion space." The communication officer tried. There was no response. The human ships did not slow down. They did not form any recognizable attack pattern. They simply spread out in a loose cloud and continued toward the planet. "They are inside weapons range," the tactical officer reported. "Should I order the defense platforms to engage?" "Yes, open fire." The defense platforms fired. Massive energy beams lanced out toward the human ships. The beams hit nothing. The human ships had simply vanished. Where did they go? Before anyone could answer, the human ships reappeared. They were behind the defense platforms now, inside the defensive perimeter, as if they had stepped through a door in space itself. The human weapons fired. They did not fire energy beams. They fired small silver objects that flew toward the defense platforms at incredible speed. When the objects hit, they did not explode. Instead, the defense platforms seemed to collapse inward, crushing themselves into impossibly small points that flashed bright white and vanished. All 12 defense platforms were destroyed in less than 4 seconds. "What was that?" whispered. He had never seen anything like it. He had never even heard of anything like it. The human ships turned toward the planet. They fired again, not at military targets this time, but at the surface itself. The same silver weapons fell through the atmosphere like rain. Where they landed, circles of destruction spread outward. Buildings crumbled. Ground collapsed. The circles spread until they touched each other, and then there was nothing left. No ruins. No bodies. Just flat, empty ground where a city had been. The entire garrison was erased in less than 10 minutes. No survivors. No witnesses. Only automated satellites that recorded everything and transmitted it to command before they too were destroyed. This was how the war began, not with battles but with erasure. Captain commanded the destroyer Remembrance. It was a fast ship, built for quick strikes and faster escapes. She had requested the assignment personally, and no one had questioned why a survivor of Nu wanted to be on the front lines. Her ship was part of a strike force that had just destroyed the largest shipyard in their territory. The facility had been building warships for 200 years. It had produced the fleet that murdered her world. Now it was atoms floating in space. "Captain," her communications officer said, "we are receiving a transmission from the commander. He wishes to surrender." Looked at the screen showing the remaining ships. Their weapons were powered down. Their shields were lowered, the universal signal of submission. "We were not offered that option on Nu," she said. "Captain." "You heard me." Her voice was flat, empty of emotion. Target their reactors, fire. The ships exploded one by one. The Remembrance did not even slow down. It jumped to the next target before the debris stopped spinning. News of the human attacks spread through the galaxy like fire. They had lost 14 border worlds in 3 weeks, not conquered, sterilized. The humans were doing exactly what they had done to Nu. They were killing everything. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. Species that had been neutral demanded that something be done. The humans were breaking every convention of warfare. They were not taking prisoners. They were not accepting surrender. They were not leaving survivors. But when the ambassador suggested intervention, the chamber fell silent. Who will stop them? Admiral Park had appeared via hologram, his face calm and cold. Who will send their fleet against ours? The thought they could kill humans without consequence. Now they know the truth. Anyone who helps them will learn the same lesson. No one volunteered. They sent desperate messages to former allies, offering territory, resources, anything in exchange for help. No one responded. The species who had once traded with them were now watching from a safe distance, unwilling to draw human attention. Admiral Park broadcast a message to all worlds. His face filled screens across the Dominion, speaking words that every would remember for the rest of their short lives. You were warned, he said. I stood before you and told you what would happen if you attacked us. You laughed, you called us soft, you called us weak. You killed nearly 2 million of our people, including children. His eyes were stones. Now understand this. Humans do not forgive. Humans do not forget. We will chase you to the edge of the universe if we must. Every world you hide on, we will find. Every ship you flee in, we will destroy. Every soldier who served in your military will die. This is not revenge. This is justice, and it will not stop until there are no soldiers left alive. The message ended. Across the Dominion, panic began. Civilians started fleeing their core worlds. Massive convoys of transport ships headed for the outer territories, for neutral space, anywhere that might be safe. Military officers abandoned their posts. Politicians made secret deals with human agents, offering information in exchange for mercy. There was no mercy. Human fleets followed every convoy. They did not attack civilian transports directly, but they destroyed every military ship that tried to escort them. They bombed every military base the convoys tried to resupply at. They made it clear that anyone wearing a uniform would die. On the bridge of her ship, Captain watched a military hospital explode. Her tactical officer had confirmed that wounded soldiers were inside. She had ordered the attack anyway. Captain, her executive officer said carefully, some of our crew are concerned. The hospital had no weapons. The patients could not fight. The soldiers at Nu could not fight either, replied. The children at Nu could not fight. My parents could not fight. She turned to face him. Do you think they showed mercy when they killed my family? No, ma'am. Then we show them the same mercy they showed us. None. The executive officer nodded and returned to his station. He did not argue. None of them argued. They had all seen the footage from Nu. They had all seen what mercy meant to the. Across human space, the question was being asked. How far would humanity go? Where was the line? Fleet Marshal Shin gave the answer in a private meeting with her senior officers. There is no line, she said. We gave them a chance to walk away. They chose war. Now they will see what war means to humans. Total, complete, final. In the darkness of space, human ships moved like ghosts, appearing without warning, destroying without mercy, vanishing before any response could be organized. The hunters had become the hunted, and they were beginning to understand that they had made a terrible mistake. The aliens scoffed at the warning. Now humans chased them without mercy. Part 5: The Reckoning. Prime was the heart of the Dominion. For 10,000 years they had ruled from this world. Their greatest cities stretched across its surface, monuments to their power and ambition. 3 billion lived here, civilians mostly now, because almost every soldier had been sent to fight the humans. Almost every soldier was dead. The human fleet surrounded the planet like a ring of steel, 3,000 warships, each one carrying weapons that could crack a world in half. They had fought their way through every defense that could raise. They had destroyed fleets, shipyards, military bases, and defense stations. Now there was nothing between them and the Fleet Marshal Shin stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Soul, and looked at the planet on the main screen. It was a brown and green world, larger than Earth, with massive oceans and continent-spanning forests, beautiful in its own way. "All ships report ready," her tactical officer said. "We have full weapons lock on all major population centers. On your command, we can begin orbital bombardment." 3 billion lives waiting for her word. She could end them all in an hour. The devices were loaded and ready. One command and Prime would become a dead rock spinning in the void. "Hold position," she said. "I want to hear what they have to say first." A communication screen flickered to life. The appeared, but he was not the same creature who had laughed at Admiral Park a year ago. He looked old now, broken. Several of his arms hung limp, badly healed wounds that had never been properly treated. His shell was cracked in places. "Fleet Marshal," he said. His voice no longer clicked with confidence. It was hollow, defeated. "I am contacting you to discuss terms of surrender." "You wish to surrender," Shin said. "It was not a question." "Yes, total and unconditional. We accept all responsibility for the attack on Nu. We will pay any reparations you demand. We will give you whatever you want, please." The last word seemed to cost him something vital. "Please do not destroy our. There are 3 billion people below who had nothing to do with the war. Children, families. They are innocent." "Innocent?" Shin let the word hang in the air. Were the children of Nu innocent? Were the families who were hunted through the streets innocent? Were the 1.96 million humans who died screaming innocent? The lowered his head. "Yes, they were. And what we did to them was wrong. I know this now. I knew it then, but I did not care. I thought humans were beneath us. I thought we could do whatever we wanted to you without consequence." He looked up and there was something genuine in his many eyes. Fear, yes, but also understanding. "I was wrong, please. Let my mistake die with me, not with my entire species." Shin said nothing. She turned off the screen and walked to a private room at the back of the bridge. A few minutes later, Captain arrived. She had been summoned from her ship by shuttle. "Admiral," said, saluting. She was a captain now, commander of the Remembrance, with a record of more kills than almost anyone in the fleet. "At ease." Shin gestured to a chair. "I want to ask you something. You lost more on Nu than anyone. Your parents, your home, your childhood. What does justice look like to you?" Sat down slowly. She had not expected this question. "Justice. We have the power to wipe out their species, every last one of them. We could do to them exactly what they did to Nu, except on a scale 1,000 times larger." Shin's eyes were tired. "Part of me wants to. Part of me thinks it is what they deserve, but I want to know what you think." Was quiet for a long moment. She thought about her parents, their faces, the last time she had seen them. She thought about the cargo container, the small hole through which she had watched them disappear. She thought about 11 years of training, of fighting, of killing. "They should remember," she finally said. "Forever, death is too easy. It is just an ending. One moment of pain and then nothing. No guilt, no shame, no awareness of what they did." She met Shin's eyes. "Make them live with it. Make them remember Nu every single day for the rest of their existence. Make them teach their children what happened and why. Make them feel the weight of what they did until the end of time." Shin nodded slowly. "That is then death." "Yes," agreed, "it is." 1 hour later, Fleet Marshal Shin broadcast humanity's terms to Prime. Every on the planet heard the message. Many other species across the galaxy listened as well, wanting to know how the humans would end their war. "The Dominion is dissolved," Shin said. "As of this moment, you are no longer an empire. You have no military, you have no fleet, you have nothing except what we allow you to keep. She listed the terms: complete destruction of all remaining military equipment, permanent human monitoring stations on every world. Any ship larger than a shuttle would require human permission to fly. Any factory capable of building weapons would be destroyed. Every year, she continued, on the anniversary of the massacre at Nu, every world will hold a day of mourning. Schools will teach what happened. Monuments will be built. You will never be allowed to forget. A monument would be constructed on Prime itself, in the central square of their capital city. It would list every human name lost at Nu. 1.96 million names, carved in stone that would last 10,000 years. Every who passed it would be reminded of what their species had done. You will pay reparations for 500 years. The credits will go to rebuilding Nu and compensating the families of the dead. You will never again threaten a human world. You will never again build weapons of war. If you violate any of these terms, we will return. And next time there will be no mercy. There will be no offer. There will be only the same destruction you brought to our people. The accepted, he had no choice. The war was over. 20 years passed. Admiral returned to Nu. The planet had been rebuilt, better than before. The cities were new, the farms productive, the population growing. Nearly 1 million people lived there now, including many children who had never known the old colony. Walked through a memorial garden in the capital city. Stone paths wound between flowering trees, leading to a great wall where names were carved. She found her parents easily. She had visited so many times that she could walk to the spot with her eyes closed. Minyu, beloved parents, they gave their daughter a chance to live. She touched the stone. It was warm from the sun. Admiral. She turned. A young stood behind her, barely adult by their standards. He wore the simple robes of a diplomatic corps member, and he stood nervously, as if expecting her to attack. I am sorry to disturb you, he said. His translator gave his voice a soft, uncertain quality. I am part of the reconciliation delegation. I wanted to, he stopped, started again. I wanted to say that I am sorry for what my people did. I was not born when it happened, but I learned about it in school. I saw the footage. I know what we did was wrong. Studied him. He was young. He had committed no crimes. He carried the guilt of his ancestors the way she carried the grief of her parents. I have practiced this, he said, and then bowed deeply in the human fashion. It was awkward and not quite right, but the effort was clear. I hope someday there can be peace between our peoples, real peace, not just the absence of war. Was quiet for a long time. They grew more nervous with each passing second. Finally she nodded, just once. It was not forgiveness, it might never be forgiveness, but it was something, an acknowledgement, a beginning. Tell your people, she said, that humans have long memories. We remember our enemies. We remember what they did to us. She paused. But we also remember when they try to change, when they try to be better. We remember that too. The young bowed again and hurried away, clearly relieved to have survived the encounter. Turned back to the memorial wall. The names stretched in every direction, too many to count at a glance. Each one was a life cut short. Each one was a story that would never be told. Far away, on a space station where historians from many species gathered, an old alien scholar was finishing a book about the human war. He wrote the final paragraph slowly, choosing each word with care. The humans taught the galaxy a lesson that will echo for 10,000 years. They are not the strongest species. They are not the largest or the longest lived. Their bodies are fragile. They need sleep and food and air. They feel pain and fear and love. He paused, looking out the window at the stars. But they also remember. They remember kindness, and they reward it with trade and friendship and protection. They remember cruelty, and they repay it with a fury that burns across the stars. He typed the last words. You may think them soft. You may think them weak. But never, never give them a reason to chase you, because once they start, they do not stop. They do not forgive. They do not forget. And they will find you wherever you hide, however long it takes. This is the truth that the learned too late. Let every species in the galaxy learn it now, while the lesson is still only written in history books and not in the ashes of their own worlds. The book was published and became required reading at every diplomatic academy in the sector. The galaxy had learned what humans truly were. They would not forget either.